Hello and welcome back to the review realm. It's Sienna, and today we're going to be discussing the film Fantastic Four First Steps, which was just released in theaters, and this is going to be a non-spoiler review of the film. And Fantastic Four First Steps is set in a futuristic 1960s, and they are on Earth 828. And this film does follow a established Fantastic Four. They have been doing the crime fighting, being superheroes for about 4 years now. So they do, all of them in Fantastic Four, understand their powers, which I think was actually beneficial for this film. It wasn't a origin story where you're seeing them get their powers for the first time and trying to understand what each of them can do, their strengths and their weaknesses. This is a team that already understands all of that. They're established, they're well loved within their Earth, which was nice and refreshing to see, and I think it actually was a really good choice that Marvel did as well. Now, with the casting, I know a lot of people were hesitant about Pedro Pascal playing Reed Richards, and I actually think he does a decent job. I do think there's parts where he does play a little almost hesitant, a little cowardly, but with the situation and with the context, I do think it works a little bit, and Vanessa Kirby, I think, did a very good job as well in her role. I would say everyone actually was well casted, and I enjoyed them in their respective roles. Now, I will say with Johnny Storm, he is very much a womanizer, loves women, and within this film, you don't really see that as much, but they definitely tell you a lot that he loves women, and it feels like it's thrown in your face a little bit, but honestly, it is what it is, and it was just here or there, and I didn't mind it as much. Now, I will say, Ben, the Thing, they did a great job with his character, but I would have loved more. They definitely do illustrate that he is craving a family of his own, in some sense, and you do see a little of the sadness he feels, not necessarily jealousy towards Johnny and everyone else, but there is definitely a little bit of tension, and they do play into him feeling a little lonely and the craving for a family. I do think they could have really dove deeper into that, but they did do a nice surface level of illustrating that, which I also did enjoy, and I think the setting, having it as a futuristic 1960s, was a really good choice. I really enjoyed it, seeing futuristic technology and what it might look like with a 60s vibe. It was really nice to see. Now, the overall plot of this film is very simple. You have a family. Someone is trying to hurt that family, and now they are trying to protect the family. So it's a very basic plot. You know what's gonna happen. But honestly, I didn't mind it. I think it's a good chance for Marvel to just start simple. And I think this was a really good, simple story for Marvel, and overall it was enjoyable. Now, there are some moments of that Marvel humor, which I think they didn't overuse in this film compared to their other movies that have been coming out, where it just feels like they're just hammering the humor. With this, it was dropped in there and it made sense, and it was enjoyable. I'd be lying if I said I didn't laugh in this movie, because I did. I think they played the humor off very well, and it wasn't overwhelming like it has been in some of the other Marvel movies. Now, I will say this is definitely Marvel's best film of this year compared to Captain America: Brave New World and the Thunderbolts. I enjoyed this a lot more, and it is definitely more of a grounded story compared to what we have seen Marvel recently, which also was refreshing, and I think it was a nice step back. Now, this film definitely does lay the groundwork for future Marvel, especially Doomsday, which will be coming out next year, so it definitely was laying the groundwork for it. But also, it's a very standalone film. If you're not up to date on recent Marvel stuff, you could go into this film and still enjoy it. Now, obviously, you'd be missing some stuff, especially towards the end of the film and the post-credit scenes, but if you don't care about that, you can definitely just jump into this movie and not know anything about the MCU, and you'd still get enjoyment out of it. So I think that was very beneficial, especially since Marvel and its movies have felt very convoluted. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of rewatching you have to do just to be caught up on this new film. But with this film, you could really go into it and not know nothing. So I did enjoy that aspect of it. And I would actually recommend this film if you are an MCU fan or just a superhero fan. it was really enjoyable, even though it was a very basic storyline. It definitely does have its problems, but overall, it was still enjoyable. And I was pleasantly surprised about the Fantastic Four. I was going into it with very low expectations, and I will say I enjoyed it, and it's not a terrible film, so that was really nice to see as well. Now, we do see Galactus, and I do think they did a good job with Galactus and Silver Surfer. Now, there was some things that I probably would have done differently, but overall, it was a solid end to the film, a good bad guy, a good threat for the Fantastic Four and seeing their first movie with them. They did a good job, and I really enjoyed how they used ABC, the talk show, in this film. It was very enjoyable, and it helped with the epilogue. So that is one aspect I really did like about the film, and how they just got the audience caught up with everything that was happening on Earth 828. Now, I will say the CGI in this film, there's definitely some iffy parts. I will say that. Definitely when you're watching, you're like, that looks really fake. That shouldn't look like that. But for how much CGI that they were using in this movie, it actually was pretty good. And some of the visuals in this movie were well done. But there was some parts where I was like, that's a little iffy. It looks a little weird. But otherwise than that, this film was well made and well acted in. But I think general audiences are really going to like this film. And it's definitely a good beginning for the MCU, and with the next stages they're going to be taking it. And it's a good setup for Doomsday. And this film does have 2 post-credit scenes, and I will say you really only need to stick around for the mid-credit scene. You can dip after that if you would like, but there is one at the very end, but it's not really necessary. And this film is just under 2 hours. The pacing in it was well done for this film. It didn't feel rushed. And they definitely did have some moments where it was a little slow, but I think it was necessary. And again, the humor is not overloaded. So I actually enjoyed Fantastic Four more than I thought I was going to. But let me know your thoughts if you've seen this film, or if you are going to potentially check it out, or if it is a skip for you down in the comment section down below. But have a great day. Bye!